That's another whole level that I would have never thought. And we're looking to bring the world of art into this. We're looking to do art galleries with some artists. We had Andy Warhol's nephew do a board for us that was in Times Square. We had famous artists come in and do boards as well. Those, because they weren't children's barriers and they were done by some
Yeah.
well-known artists, but they went up for auction and they raised money for the foundation. So our goal is to, we're moving forward to get more into the art world, and these kids' stories.
So now you're tying in boards to people and other stories. You're bridging the gap between Leaf, the amazing guy with world records, and now you're taking Leaf board into other amazing people. Golf, and this would literally be your career and blow up the way it has like this.
No, no, this is just you have to step back, and Rich, that's what I was saying a minute ago. This is the difference that when I get on stage. This is what I try to share because it's just never foreseen that this was about to happen. And do you have the courage to just jump in and see where things go? And that's what I try to teach. By the time I leave the stage,
Yeah.
I'm saying achievement, a performance. That's not the end of the road. That's just another piece of the puzzle. We have to move beyond that. We have to move into a realm of, and I call it mastery. I mean, again, and I then parlay into the world of sports. When you talk about the greatest, you're talking about mastery is a different mindset than performance. Mastery is a different mindset than achievement. And I leave the stage and I put it this way: performance is the opportunity to achieve. Mastery is the ability to surrender. Where are you going to live? I have taken my events and become and had to surrender. That's where I found my success. Times Square, I was a small.
Excellent.
Are people ready to do that?
So you touched on the war, the
I,
mind. There's an aspect, and I've heard other record, and I've made a heavy part of my career in sports. But the mind, the body, and spirit have got to be in sync. You've got to know what you're going to do, when you're going to do it. But the whole essence of this is a deeply how to be centered. Talk to that about personally. How do you get centered for you, board breaking for you personally?
Another lesson I learned along the way was it's not the physicality of it. The second time I ever went out to break boards, it was the worst attempt of my life. Again, the 1 minute world record, which is 487 boards in a minute. The second time I had done that, for one reason or another, I just thought, man, if I just get bigger and stronger, I can probably break more boards. But what I never anticipated happening was the moment and instead of hundreds of people, now there's thousands, and the venue's bigger. And this was part of what learning experience was. When I walked up to that pile of boards for that moment, I was like, I didn't even know why I wanted to be there. I had just lost it. I
Really?
had lost it, and I guess I got to do it. I guess I got to go. Everybody's here. It's time to go. And I just start hitting boards, and it was a mess. I mean, 10 seconds into it, my hand was swollen from my fingers to my elbow. I got carted away in the end. Um, and that was the day I left there saying, this is not a physicality. What we're looking to achieve is not just the physical component, especially if you want to play if you want to play in the top stages, you have to be all in psychologically, emotionally. How to prepare yourself for those things are key.
So there are setbacks. You have had setbacks, like you said at the beginning. You just touched on it right now. So what gets you reset to come back out and do it again? The physical side hurts, but there's also the embarrassment. The expectation for you has got to go up and up from the crowd, sponsors.
Yeah.
And now you just said you froze coming out. You were not really going to. How do you?
Yeah. So moving forward, when you're on these big journeys, and at this point, we have to call it a journey. You know, it's easy to call things goal setting. I set the goal for what it's no longer a goal. It's a journey. It doesn't matter how many times I get up there, I'm gonna have to work out. But when it comes to something like that, when it comes to something as devastating that you just feel like the rug's been pulled out from underneath you,
Yeah.
what you've lost is you lost your balance. Lost your balance. So I put it this way, and again, I teach this from the stage. There's four key components, and whether it's business or whether it's sports, it doesn't matter because the business arena and the professional arena,
Yeah.
they run in the same segments.
Yes, they do.
The first thing you need to cultivate where you need to cultivate the energy to move forward. The only way you can cultivate energy is to have balance. You know, have balance in what it is you do. Balance generates energy. The second is alignment. Alignment sustains energy. The third part is understanding your direction. And the last part is what's your execution point? What's your vision? Balance, align, direct, and execute. These are the four pieces I say. Salespeople say, how many of you get up in the morning and before your feet hit the floor, you're already on your phone? Is that really the balance of things? And again, I'm not saying that because I'm just as apropos to doing that as well. But I know it. Balance, align, direct, and execute. We teach teams how to run with this. If you're not getting to where you want to go, it's one of those four things. Either something's out of balance, or it's misaligned, or we're just totally in the wrong direction, or we don't understand our vision. Any one of those is where we're gonna work to massage that a little bit and get us back on track.
What's it like when you walk into the corporate boardroom? You say, guys, I'm going to crack a couple boards, but we're going to talk about a whole bunch of other stuff. Do they look
I
at you
think
like
that's my biggest barrier.
nuts?
That's my biggest barrier professionally
I was wondering.
because I'm a this. I mean, I can only imagine what the corporate guys are saying before I actually. Hey, there's some coming in, probably holds a few world records, and they probably think I'm going to talk about the physicality of breaking boards and who la la. Listen, we're getting deep. We're getting deep into what success looks like for you. Because again, 7 years to produce an event in Times Square, you better have had some business smarts to make it happen. I had met with Madison. We don't Rockefeller Center. Here we are in December now. I mean, we were gonna rent out the fishbowl. I mean, you can't sit down and have conversations like that if you don't understand what you're talking about. You can't share your vision. You don't understand how to communicate, and you can't put the right team together. When I step into a boardroom, we're not talking boards. We're talking futures.
So, with all that said, I'm going to have a shameless. I want to see you break a board. After everything you just said, I
Well,
want to
let's.
see the record holder break a board.
I will do that. I'm going to share with you real quick, Rich. So this is a pile here.
Yeah.
So this is. I want to share with this just what this represents real quick. So again, with the
Please.
two, 1 minute. So this is every second for the 60 seconds. This is what I had to go through. 487 boards, 60 seconds. That's 8 boards a second. And little did I realize though, how many boards I was going through each minute in the 24 hours. So wake up in the morning, every minute you're going through this, and it goes until the next morning at 8 a.m. But so yeah, I don't know, 8 boards. I don't know. That's where I'm at.
I know I'm
But
not doing it.
but these are everybody asks what they are. These are just regular 1x12 pine boards. There's a little bit of power into it, but there's also a little bit of speed. And I'll have broke 15,000 boards in my life, so this is what it's all about. They are hard. I didn't want to.
You've also become an author as well. I mean,
Yes.
here we are, breaking barrier. And what was that project?
Bringing it down the paper. That's right. The first and everything we've talked about today, Rich, is in the first chapter of the book. It's our own journey, but it was a moment ago we talked about balance.
Yes.
We talked about balance. I want to touch on that just a little bit further because so many people in the world, in the corporate world, come back to me. Again, it's about achievement. And the more often not than anything I hear is I don't feel like I'm balanced. I don't feel like I'm living a balanced life. So again, my job is to go back and reflect and say, what can we do to correct that? And this is a perfect time of the year because we're getting into the holiday, because
Oh, yeah.
Christmas. Anybody who feels that they're an ambitious person needs to take the time to reflect more. The balancing component to ambition is reflection. I tell that to anybody I work with. If you're off balance and you're striving and you're working to achieve and this and that, you're moving forward, you need to start stepping back and reflecting a bit. What's the things that have gone on in your life? Again, we talk about the power of gratitude all the time, but what are the things that you reflect upon? Spend some time doing that, and you will cultivate a level of a balance so you can move forward more efficiently.
Well,
So,
work-life balance is one of the biggest conversations that whenever I sit with leaders, and you'll
mhm.
hear them, and we're rocking it, we're crushing it, but I keep missing my kid's baseball game. My wife is asking me to take a retreat weekend with her, not a retreat taking weekend with my company. And the work-life balance facts, and you don't have a marriage, you don't have
Yeah.
a family, and usually your company will crash and burn too.
Yeah.
That message is so underrated, but needs to be told the way you're describing it.
So, and that's what I'm saying. Between now and the end of the year should be your reflectional points. These are exciting. Come January. I mean, how many times are speakers like us booked in January to kick off a year for a company? Let's get on. But if I could reach out to a company right now that I'm speaking for in January, what I would tell them in their 10 days, 2 weeks, and don't think about 2025. Reflect on who you are, reflect on your family, reflect on your kids, reflect on the life that you've lived so far. What that's going to do is that's going to culminate strength within you. So you're supercharged to take on those ambitions in January.
Yeah.
Reflection is key.
So you mentioned the chairman. Just give a little more information on your charity. This sounds fascinating that you're making all these connections. And again, I'm sure way back in the beginning, you did not have a plan, but here you are making major connections and serving people in a whole different way. Tell us more about it, please.
Yeah, grown as well. Breaking Bears, Building Futures. We're part of the Champions Charity Alliance. That's where my program lives. And so what it is again, it's the opportunity to meet with people. I say kids, but we're expanding. Tonight, I'm actually speaking to a recovery program for drugs and alcohol recovery.
One of
So
my
here,
favorite things in the world. Bless you, man.
yes, and so tonight I'll be speaking to a bunch of individuals, and we're talking barriers. We're talking about that, but it all goes back to are they have the opportunity then to take a board. We invite them to. We bring them through a whole exercise. Think about the challenges you faced in the past. Think about where you are now. Think about where you want to go. Put everything you have into this board, however you like. Use words. Use pictures. Just use colors. Make it abstract. It doesn't matter. Just let it out. Let it become that. And then we're going to break through that. Any resistance you feel of what you put down there, we're breaking through. It was funny you said a moment ago because I run into people online and kids send them a board. Here's a board for you. When it's all ready, you get together with me and we'll jump on Zoom and we'll break that board together. So we run it in so many different ways, and it all started because, as with many speakers, I'd be speaking somewhere in the country, and as soon as I realized where I was going to be, the next day I would just make sure I was booked for the Children's Hospital. I've had the opportunity to visit Mount Sinai, New York City. I visit San Francisco's Children's Hospital. Um, And that's what drives me. So as soon as I go out to speak somewhere, a shipment of boards goes to that hospital, and the kids have the opportunity to decorate them, and I'll come in and break them, and we'll just talk. It's just again they just gravitate towards the excitement, and it gives a great opportunity for us to share some time together.
You mentioned something in passing that I want to go back and maybe mine a little bit, but seeing through the boards is part of that actualization, visualization is, yeah, I have to see through the board. I have to see my hand going through before I do it. just like a downhill skier. They run the race and they know exactly everything. Is that part of seeing through it very important?
Tremendously important, tremendously important. And it goes back to the corporate life we talked about. You
Yes.
have to have the end in mind. But not only does the end in mind need to be there, that needs to be your focal point. It's like picking up your phone and taking a picture. Sometimes I wanted to focus on the end point. Because and again, and we could again, we'll jump into many different ponds here if we went to the recovery of alcohol and
Oh,
drug addiction.
absolutely. That's what made
We're
me
too
think of it.
focused on this, but let's say weird from now. And that then we can't because then we walk out and we start to focus on all the daily challenges we're facing. And we focus on all those barriers we're facing. I always say this when we get more boards here. We'll write all of our goals down on one side,
Yeah.
and then I'll say when a barrier jumps into your mind, flip the board over and put it here. When you break the board, when my teams come up to break the board, I said the barriers have to come up. These are the ones that are in our face every day. Below, but we're going to be hitting these head on. So when you put your board down to break it, those barriers better be in front of you because I can promise you right now, those are the things in your mind every day.
Well, when I'm in leadership talks, often I will talk about seeing the other side of the vision. Again, most of the teams are talking about the crap in between.
Yeah.
They're always talking about the stuff in between. As you're really telling everybody here today, you got to focus on the other side. You're on one side of the board. You want to get to the other. But what's in between? Do you? It's
No,
butter
right.
to you. It's butter, and you have to know how to cut the butter, not cut a board.
Yeah. 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 You have to be willing to break through. And that means getting through all the that are challenging you. And in doing so, often, as we said a moment ago, in doing so in a way that there's still a tremendous uncertainty within us because we don't really have all the answers that we need, Jake, to get to that other side. It's like saying, okay, you're going to do it, but you're going to have to do it with one hand behind your back. That just it elevates that challenge a little bit more. And I was the same way when I was going out to do world record breaks. And this was for the 1 minute. It was $5,000 to $10,000 an attempt. I didn't have that, but it didn't stop me. It
Yeah,
didn't stop me. I mean, I'll share this quick great story with you.
yeah.
I often say this too: tell enough people and tell the right people, you'll get to wherever you want to go. Just keep talking. Just keep sharing your message, and that's what I did with the world record. I told all my karate students, I was telling their parents. One parent came to me and said, "Hey, how much money do you need?" I was getting ready for that Mohegan Sun event. And I said, "Oh, we just built some sponsor packages for 2 or 3 thousand." He goes, "But how much do you need?" I said, "It's going to cost me like 10 grand to do this world record." And a couple of weeks later, came back, handed me an envelope. I opened it for $10,000. Didn't break the record though for another 3 years. And by the time I had broken that 1 minute world record, his company had invested $250,000 into my venture. It
Wow.
was great to know the chief marketing officer of Schick, the razor company. And as you can see, I still to this day make sure I'm cleanly shaven before I hit the stage. But I mean, I parlay into that story because we're going to face a lot of barriers. And we're also going to face a lot of uncertainties because we don't have all the answers we need yet. I did not have the $250,000. No, I just knew every time it was hitting 10,000, but he saw what I was doing. We did get him, we got him on David Letterman. We got him. I mean, it was win-win. You have to
Yes.
cultivate those win-win opportunities, but it doesn't mean that you know where they're going to lie when you start your journey. It's like, hey, all forces ahead. We don't have all the answers yet. There's a lot of challenges ahead of us. What's our trajectory? And I'll wrap with that story was Times Square was 1.2 million.
Phew.
Conception to execution,
Yeah.
for what cost $1.2 million, but we had over 200 million impressions worldwide. ABC, we probably had 20 million in rev buy for ads. So if I in the 1 minute world record,
Yeah.
I don't think I ever would have had the ambition to say I want Times Square at 1.2 million.
Well, and I'm also coming in from believed in you. He took a chance on
Yeah.
you. He saw something in you. And when you find those people that see something in you, they will invest. And like you said, you didn't break the record, but they came back again and said, "We still believe in you.
Yeah.
And we want you to go back out there." That's powerful to have someone in your corner believe in you and keep saying, will pony up, be pony because they know something's going to happen. And every time
Mhm.
you're going up, every time you go back out there, you didn't break the, but now you're more known. Oh, and you have Schick with you. Oh, and you go do another one. You get known and packaged together like that. The chances of succeeding are far greater than doing it alone.
Exactly. It's cultivating that right team. And I said it before, it's an internal team and an external team.
Hmm.
And it's finding sponsors and cultivating those relationships are all part of your external team that usually you don't start with when you have this vision. It's we have to go out and find them. And like what you just said, passion. If you could take
Yes.
any have anything, have passion.
So you've had the awards, you've had the acclaim, you've 24 hours. What drives you to keep going now?
I don't know if this is one word or two. World tour. World tour. We have full of pieces already in place. We have the venue that's already committed to us. They have 16 locations around the world, from Paris to Spain to London to, and there's six venues between Canada and. I mean, and they're on board. They said we want your event in every one of our locations.
Wow.
Back to building the sponsors, building the deck, building the media. We're just back. We're back. We're
Yeah.
back. Say we're back, but we're back. We're back, and we're excited. Comes together on calls and just says, where can we find the next pieces? Where can we, but putting together an international tours, I think that is the next step from, wrapping up Times Square. So,
Fabulous.
being able to say, hey, and how many, and not just that, but how many kids can we help around the world then? We have these thousands of boards now being shipped around the world to different destinations,
Yeah.
that they all have the opportunity to share their personal life story before the boards get broken. That's what this world is looking for these days. It's unification.
Yes.
It's global unification, and I think that's the biggest mission of my team. Is we're in it now. It's not about. It's not about. It's about. We have a bigger vision, which is where we want companies to go to. I would have, if somebody started out with me on day one and said, "Hey, are you going to be about global unity?" I'm like, "What are you?" I just.
I'm breaking
But
boards, but that's
yeah,
what I'm doing.
but now we're on to global unity. Now we're on bringing kids together, bringing stories together, bringing artwork together. It's just become such a powerful catalyst.
I can remember being in a mall back in Minnesota at an event I was running, but they also had the karate team there as
Yeah.
well. And they did the board thing. And even if a mother was walking their kids to the mall, they were interested, the kid would stop. The kid would just turn around. Mom's like, come on, Johnny. But Johnny's like, right there. It's amazing how mesmerized and they're sponges watching everything you do. What's the coolest kid story you can tell us that you've seen or felt or encountered?
There are so many. There's
Oh
so many,
man.
but I have to share this one because a little while ago we talked about the power of surrender, and I had a talk to give in Half Moon Bay out in California, and that was the next day when I went to San Francisco. And this I share this from the again I share this from the stage to get my story across. But I was there speaking, and I said, performance is the opportunity to achieve, mastery is the ability to surrender. And I had somebody push back. I had somebody push back and say, but that means to give up. And I didn't know how to explain it yet. I was still stuck on. But I was like, it's not giving up. It's not giving up. And so the next day, I went to the children's hospital, and I was meeting with the kids. And again, it's just a powerful story. I'll never forget. It was a blonde-haired boy. He was probably about 11 or 12. He had cancer, and he and I were sitting there, we're talking to each other. So we're having this conversation with each other. It was getting pretty deep and pretty powerful. And as the two of us were sharing this story, I looked over his shoulder and his dad was looking at me. And I said, that's the surrender. This is a father sitting behind his son who has cancer and who is it's surrender is when you're all in, but you're not in control.
Yes.
That's surrender. And that's when I leave the stage, I want people stepping up, not saying I'm going to achieve, but saying I'm going to surrender because I can cultivate more in my life by surrendering than I can by just accomplishing. and I've just come to learn and tell story. I mean, it was. I mean, I meet. I mean, I could. We could have another hour, and I could tell
Yeah.
you about the amount
Oh,
of
I'm
children.
sure.
But it was the impact that this child had on my life and his father that cultivated the answer life we should be living. Because it's not because of what we're going to miss out, but because of what we're going to be able to gain by being all in, but not being in control. Who's brave enough to do that?
Leaf. That's absolutely go. Everyone watching tonight, you've got to make sure you get that. Here's Leaf's website. What's at the website? What are they going to find when they go there, man?
Oh, lots. Probably a bit of what we share today. You can get in touch with me, as well as you'll see a lot of the cool videos that I've done over the years between today's show and Letterman and all that good stuff. But it gives a little bit of insight too as to who I am, what I try to teach, and again, I hope by the they look at life maybe even just a little bit different and just say the world is much grander than I could have ever realized if I have the courage to do that. So,
Leaf Becker, thanks for being on. This has been absolutely marvelous. Congratulations on your success. And
Rich.
we're going to wait for the world tour. And by the way, Washington, D.C., Washington, D.C.
Mhm.
You come here, we'll hang out. We'll break some
All
bread.
right. Thank you, Rich. I appreciate you allowing me the time to be together and share together and a lot of great things that we have opportunity to speak about. So thank you so much.
Thank you much, Leaf. Boy, what a great conversation. And I really want to go back to that whole mindset thing, the work-life balance. It is the holiday season. We are going 105 all the time. Slow down. Enjoy the family. Have a little time to yourself. Work will wait. The stuff will get done. But I think it's so important. And then you go back to breaking boards and having a lot of fun and hitting the mark. Hey, that's going to do it for tonight. I'm the Trigger Rich Bontrager. We'll be back here again next week, 7 p.m. Eastern Time. We go live once again with another great conversation. Make sure on YouTube, join the chat, ask questions, join the conversation, and watch for more episodes on Rock the Stage Show. Have a great week, everybody. We'll see you back here again, 7 p.m. Eastern Time, Sunday nights for Rock the Stage Show.